Hey guys, Kerry Werner here, fresh off of my first BWR of 2022, the San Marcos BWR, and man was it a doozy. This is my first race, basically over 100 miles. Took me 7 hours and 11 minutes. I'm fried. Not fried to the point where I can't give you all race recaps. So yeah, let's jump into the San Marcos BWR race recap. So if you don't know what BWRs are, they are kind of like the pinnacle of gravel racing in the US. The BWR San Marcos was actually the OG BWR, and then they've since grown the kind of BWR enterprise into, there's now one in Asheville, Cedar City, and Lawrence, Kansas. And so there's four. Like an idiot, I signed up for all of them, so I've got 3 more of these brutal races on the calendar this year. But yeah, let's jump into San Marco. Being the pinnacle of gravel racing in the US, there's a lot of really fast people that show up for these races. A bunch of retired and current World Tour racers. So, you know, Pete Stetina is there, Alex Howes, Alexei Vermeulen, Lance Haydet, Eric Bruner. I mean, this was a stacked field. The course itself was 135 miles with 11,000 feet of climbing. So I flew out on a Thursday from Roanoke, landed in San Diego. Dylan Johnson, Logan Casper, and I, all kind of under the Flow Formulas umbrella, came together, and we were kicking it together all weekend. So we got out for a pre-ride on Friday, and I flew to the race with Maxxis Refuse 32s. I had some intel based off of last year's course that this was the tire. In hindsight, I wish I would have gone a little bit bigger. But we rode this third kind of off-road section. It's the one with the big rock garden, the one that's in the race Bible, the one that everybody talks about. However, we did not ride the stuff in the Wildman Wilderness, which there was a huge, gnarly descent that rattled my brains out, and the climb to get up to it was washboarded like crazy. That area alone is what made me wish I would have ridden a bigger tire. The race started. I managed to get a call up, which was sweet. Sorry, Eric, if Dave called me the Pan American Cyclocross champion. I didn't pay him to do that. Started off in city streets right out of San Marcos and made our way up to the first kind of single track off-road section. It was a spicy effort to get up there right into the single track, so I thought it would be important to stay up towards the front early to avoid any kind of weird stuff where people are crashing or not super comfortable, and you know, trying to mitigate those gaps. But it all kind of stayed together. I mean, like, it would spread out a lot in the single track, but then we'd hit the road sections and it would come back together. I got to the front coming into the third single track section, the part we pre-rode, and I was behind Sandy. He crashed, so then I took the lead. Then he retook the lead, and I thought it was a good move. You know, I didn't want to burn any matches having to chase back on. We had a gnarly little single track section where some gaps opened up, but again, it closed on back. At this point, I looked back and saw I was the last person on the front group, so I knew that I had to keep it together. But again, to my surprise, like a big group of 20 plus dudes, maybe 30 dudes, were together when we popped out on pavement after about 50 miles in. We popped out on pavement and had to climb up the Bandy Canyon climb. The Bandy climb itself was 320 watts for over 22 minutes. The pace was really high and steady, but not too much. I think everybody was content with that front group, and nobody was really trying to make moves on the flatter, faster stuff as we were approaching the halfway point and into the Wildman Wilderness. It's really cool when you're in the front group, you get bottle hand-ups from the BWR support crew, so that's really nice. And so that was a goal of mine, to stay in the front group as long as possible so that I could have bottle hand-ups whenever I wanted. All you have to do is put a hand up. come up and you can grab a bottle of gel or whatever. Yeah, everything was cherry, no flats, everything was good. I was happy with tire choice up to this point. And then we made it up to that sandy washboard climb. The Zwottenberg, that's the thing with the Belgian Waffle Rides. They take all the climbs and they apply these very Belgian sounding names to it. Some other examples: the Haven Quistenberg and the Lemon Twistenberg. This washboard climb is where the wheels started to come off for me. The pace really started picking up on some of the single track sections that led into this. And I was playing the yo-yo game, and it really kind of snapped the band for me. We started that climb, and I kind of came off the front group, and I knew that was kind of the end. Kind of settled into my own pace for the rest of that climb, at which point Jeremiah Bishop linked up with me, and we both dropped into the Wildman Wilderness together. Popped out at the bottom and caught one of the Legion riders, Freddie, and didn't manage to stay with him long, but JB and I we would end up riding basically the rest of the race together. Also coming out of the Wildman Wilderness section, big climb of pavement to get back up into the highlands. The Pammelberg, this was a deep, dark hole for me. I was kind of really sick of food at this point. The whole race, I was really trying to stay on top of my nutrition, trying to take in close to 75 grams of carbs an hour. I don't think I packed enough variety, and by this point in the race, just over halfway through, the Raspberry Cliff gels that I brought, just like, whoa, making me not feel great. I had to force myself to do it though, because I knew not eating would be catastrophic. Luckily, I came out of that hole. JB and another rider and I pulled together through the highlands and made our way back into kind of like this section of the course where we ended up doing a lot of the same stuff we did at the beginning, but in reverse. I stopped at a feed zone in there, pounded a few small cups of Coke, and they had some Aleve sitting on the table. I think that saved me. I popped a couple painkillers and just kept on getting it. They sent us up Bandy Canyon twice. That was tough. And then we came back into that same single track that I'd pre-ridden yesterday. And we popped out of it with only 17 miles to go. Things were starting to shatter off of the front group at this point. We started kind of eating some people up. People started eating JB and I up. So it was really this like kind of weird racing dynamic. By the time we hit Quest Haven, I could barely do 300 watts for 20 minutes up that final climb. Starting to feel the twinges of cramping. That was not good. And then we came into the final climb of the day, the Muur van Dubbelberg. And this was just cruel to me. A huge, steep pavement climb, and you got to the top and you looped around the top, and then you just came straight back down the same one, and then turned into what was the first single track section of the day. Unnecessary, but maybe we're stronger because of it. I managed to break away from JB and stay strong up that entire climb. People were cracking constantly, and it was tough. Late in the race, there was only 10 miles to go at this point. Me and a above and beyond rider were together coming through the last single track section, and I thought I'd try to get fancy on him, pull my cross skills out and gap him. I only got about 10 seconds, and I popped out onto the road and I looked back and saw him, and so I was like, I'll just wait for this guy. Well, I shouldn't have waited, because homeboy came super tucking past me like I was standing still, and that was basically the end of my race. From there, I was just riding in on my own, and happy to come into the venue. They had a little cyclocross course set up for us in the venue. Rolled in for 14th place, 7 hours and 11 minutes. All in all, crazy, crazy race. It was fun in a really, really weird Type 2 kind of way. I learned a lot about myself, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to the next one. I know immediately after the race, I kind of thought to myself, I can't believe I signed up for all of these races. Further into the season, I'll have some more training in my legs. I'll know what to expect. I'm really looking forward to Asheville, the next one, on June 11th. I've got to clean up this bike, get it ready for another really big pull. I'm going to send the Rockstar Gravel and attempt to set a new FKT. That's a 250-mile route. I'm going to do that on Wednesday. I'm shooting this on Monday. So big week for me this week. In these 2 days between Belgian Waffle Ride and the FKT, I'll have probably 25 hours alone. So wish me luck. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and keep your eyes peeled for more race reports as we move through the season. The next BWR, like I said, is Asheville, June 11th.